Friday morning, March 2nd, 1990. A clap of thunder rang out over the old city of Jerusalem. Jews and Arabs haggling in the sheep market looked south as a column of dust drifted up from trees. It sounded like a bomb. That's what everyone thought in the beginning, a bomb. Absalom's tomb, where the explosion or the assumed explosion took place, was located just south of the market, outside the eastern wall of the old city in the Kidron Valley. Depending on who you ask, the monument was carved out of the hillside either 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. It's one of the lesser controversies in the Mideast. But there was one thing on which most historians agreed. Since prehistoric times, the valley had been a very popular place to bury the dead. The Mount of Olives was nearby. There were burial caves and vaults on the valley floor and surrounding hillsides. Successive layers of the dead, generation after generation, were stacked in this place. But of all the tombs, Absalom's tomb was by far one of the most prominent. From its base of golden brown to its long tapered spire, the rock pillar rose to a height of more than 15 meters and weighed more than 50 tons. As I sat in traffic waiting for the emergency vehicles to pass, if what I was hearing over the police scanner turned out to be true, this massive gravestone no longer existed. It hadn't been destroyed by an explosion, though. There had been no bomb. As I sat there, impatient to get to the scene, the news began to trickle out that the structure had collapsed into what was being described over the scanner as an illegal excavation shaft. Someone had been tunneling underground beneath the tombs in the Kidron. The police fanned out in all directions. They walked up and down the roadway, picking up anything that might be a clue. And then they made a big discovery. There was a back entrance to the trench. 100 meters away, in a drainage tube that ran back under the roadway, one of the investigators found an access port hacked into the concrete wall of the tube. The passage led to a string of forgotten cisterns and water caves running back into the hillside. Rachel Levy was waiting for me in the caves. "There are 3 cisterns with pottery," she whispered. "But that's not all. There's a lot of other stuff, too." Indeed, we rounded the next corner only to come face to face with one of the Palestinian victims. The police were going through his pockets. Rachel told me that the unfortunate man's name was Elvis, adding that while 2 other diggers had been crushed in the cave-in, Elvis and one other man had been shot as they tried to escape. 100 steps later, we stumbled into daylight, into the exposed portion of the shaft. Danny Halfon nodded as we came through. He was busy holding the corner of a yellow sheet as one of his assistants hammered a metal stake into the shaft wall. My attention was a little unfocused, but this did register. They were hiding something. And though I was curious, my principal concern at that moment was for my friend, who, when he saw me, motioned for me. "Look at you," I said, kneeling beside him. I brushed Saul's temple lightly with my palm. He made a motion with his index finger. Whispering in my ear, he told me, "There are journals behind the desk. I've written everything we've done." He spoke with such frailty, I had to concentrate to understand what he was saying. He wanted me to retrieve these journals and hide them until he recovered. Everyone was curious, but I knew Saul's feeble words had not gone beyond my hearing. The last thing he would ever say to me, his last words, made no sense whatsoever. Avi, we made man in our own image, he whispered. Baffling words from someone who was dying. As they lifted Saul out of the pit, Danny Halfon placed a hand on my shoulder and told me how sorry he was. My friend Saul didn't survive the ambulance ride to the hospital. The strange last days of Saul's life would gradually come into focus for me. I would discover the bizarre string of events that drove him to explore this city of the dead in the Kidron, a quest that resulted in an abruptly taken citizenship there. For me, the occasion of his misfortune became the opportunity of a lifetime to crawl up into death for a visit, briefly. A vision of technology immortal and a prophecy of things to come.
Affection for commerce. Now, both men looked at me, blinking and eager. Maybe you have questions before I wrap this up, said Kaufman. So, and will you be able to use the Nintendo for other things, or will Grandpa be, what would you call it, the exclusive tenant? That's the exciting part. You still play games, Mr. Franklin. Grandpa comes in a cartridge, so you can pop him out and then pop Mario in, which brings up another point. He flipped over to the next card. It said, Eternal Generations is forever. The LA is the ultimate expression of who we are, or were. But wait, he exclaimed. What if you could also recreate Abraham Lincoln, or Marilyn Monroe, or reconstruct Martin Luther King Jr., or John Lennon? Why not? We build astonishing emotional sculptures, and this is the secondary market. Biographies with skin. Wouldn't you like to spend time with, I don't know, some famous person you've always wanted to meet? I've always wanted to just sit down, and have a talk with Streisand. Just me and her, one-on-one. She's not dead, is she? Oh, be serious, said Kaufman. Of course not. That's terrible. Be serious, said Kaufman. Of course not. I asked if these biographies with skin were the best second market idea they'd come up with so far. If you're thinking this is just a celebrity chat thing, so you're thinking maybe this is just a celebrity chat thing. Imagine, though, the ultimate collection of FDR's memories, all maintained under the tint of his personality. Our technology will not just result in consumer titles, but industrial versions of the dead with enough resolution the LAs could also be used for consulting. I thought about this for a moment, and then I said, and by 1998 I'll be able to purchase an LA of my grandfather and carry on a conversation, and he'll have his, his memories and all that. He will be the heirloom to end all heirlooms, said Kaufman. 200 years from now, genealogy trees will be living trees with living ancestral fruit. I can't take it. Okay. 200 years from now, genealogy trees will be living trees with living ancestral fruit.